2. We got back yesterday, so it's day 2 of jet lag. Okay, everybody, now this is episode 70, which is the final episode, and it is going public, this last one, because I've got to write an article for a magazine and I need to direct people to this as well. Plus, I want to explain how it's been working. So, for those of you that have not seen all the other 70 episodes, bar 2, because they have been privately listed and they've gone to the folk that have shouted me a tank of fuel and Damien a coffee, and there's other opportunities. So it was a way to help raise some funds, because as I will go through the numbers, it was a reasonably costly event given that the Australian dollar is so low. So it was a way to help raise some funds to help cover the costs. So thank you for the tank toppers and the tippers out there. And I hope you've enjoyed the videos that have come to you, in most cases within 24 hours of the event happening. So you really have joined us in real time, as close as I could edit them and get them out. The only thing that held me up was some bad Wi-Fi areas. For those of you that have not seen all the other episodes, they will go public in 2024 sometime. But this one and 2 others were made public because of my commitments to some organisations. So this video is a complete wrap-up of the whole 3 months that we were away travelling, and I'm in Damien's office and Damien's holding the camera, and we're going to talk to him in a minute as we go along with where we've started. So first up, this is a map of North America and a little bit of Canada up there. So I'm going to go through with you quickly where we started, where we went and where we finished it, and at the end I'll talk about all the stats, how many miles we did, how much we spent, blah blah blah. So we arrived in Seattle. We arrived on the 1st of July. The boats arrived a few days before us. The bikes arrived a few days before us in Seattle, and there was some delays with the customs, and which cost us a little bit more money than we expected. So what happens is they do a tailgate check and a X-ray scan, and we think because our container was had private contents in it, wasn't with a big company, they did the X-ray and they didn't do the tailgate scan where they put their head in and look. So they held them over, and there was a public holiday and all of that, well, the week of the 4th of July. So a tip, if you're going to America, avoid all those big holidays. It delayed a few things. But thankfully, we still got away on the day we did. It's just that we didn't get to see the bikes as we were hoping a day or 2 before to check things off and prepare. So that little delay of customs in America holding the bikes for 3 days cost us, well, because we shared a container, there was 3 bikes and a trailer, cost us nearly 4,000 Australian dollars. Because of that delay, they pay you a storage fee. That was a bit of a shit. Anyway, I'll go through the costs at the end of this video. So we started in Seattle, we got away, we met with the local IMRG, Pat Scanlon and his crew, and they took us to a place called Bellingham, just the American side of the border here in Washington State, where we spent the night, we said our goodbyes. Then next day we went to Kamloops in Canada, and thanks to Ben and Kathy who put us up there at Heffley Lakes. They have a fabulous spot there, that's just gorgeous around there. Then we went to Golden on our way to Calgary, and we stopped at Lake Louise and Banff and had a look around. Then we made our way to Calgary for the Calgary Stampede, which is something I've always wanted to do. We just had a day at the Stampede, which I think's enough. We left Calgary and made our way back into the United States, into Montana. And this is where we did the Going to the Sun Road, the Glacial National Park. And this was, we've had perfect weather up until here. We were halfway up the Going to the Sun Road and it rained for about 2 hours, a bit longer, because as we were coming out of Going to the Sun Road, which is spectacular, on our way to Helena, we copped, there was a lot of roadworks and mud. It was really, the road should not have been opened, or it should have had some people there managing the traffic. It was a mess. So we came out into Helena, stayed at a great place there in Dubuque, and then we did all around here into, let me see, I've got my notes, Montana, Helena, and we then did Yellowstone. Now Yellowstone, we gave Yellowstone 3 goes because I wanted to see bison and didn't see them there anyway. So we did Yellowstone and all around there, and also within that is a place called Virginia City. There's a few Virginia cities in America, and this one and the other one we see later on is that old school stuff. It was like an old western town. It's beautiful. And then we went into Jackson, and we did the Tetons and things like that. So we did all the Tetons, and from Jackson we were meant to go south into Monument Valley, but the heat wave was coming through, and the temperatures down here were in the high 40 degrees Celsius, so over 100, it was like 110, 115 degrees Fahrenheit. So that was going to be too hot. So what we did, we went back north into Idaho and did the Sawtooth Ranges, stayed at Salmon and Ketchum and places like that. That was absolutely beautiful. But what it did, it changed our direction into South Dakota, ready for sturges. Instead of coming up into South Dakota, we ended up coming back through here and coming in the top. And it also took off a few days. So we got into Sturgis, Rapid City, thanks to Paula and Bobby, who looked after us for the whole 10 days. We got into South Dakota, Rapid City, about 4 days earlier than we had planned, which was great because what that allowed us to do is to explore the Black Hills all around there. And that's things like Devil's Tower, Spearfish, Badlands, the Needles Highway, Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse. We did all that before the crowds came for the Sturgis Rally. But between that and that, we also did the National Park, the Bighorn National Park, which I thought was one of the best rides ever. And also before that, we did the Beartooth Pass, the Chief Joseph Highway, and we loved Red Lodge, thanks to Craig and Connie, who helped us out with accommodation there as well. So that was very generous. So we came into all that, and we did all of those things before we settled, including Cody, where we went to a rodeo, and it was a very western town. Loved Cody. Into the Black Hills area of South Dakota, where we settled for the Sturgis Rally. Now, I think Damien agrees with me on this. Here he is here. Sturgis, what's your view on Sturgis?
Yeah, seen it, done it, that's it.
We would never bother doing Sturgis again. One day at Sturgis.
It was a great experience.
It was a great experience, and we love South Dakota and that whole thing there. We'd go back to that area in a heartbeat.
Yep.
But as far as the Sturgis Rally goes, one day, what you see one day is exactly what you're going to see for the whole 2 weeks of the rally.
Yeah, it's very commercialised.
Same people, same vendors, same.
But
it's probably just not our scene. It's a lot of people's scene though. If you're into that motorbike whole culture thing, but we love Deadwood as well. We stayed in Deadwood in that area. We would do that again. We loved Keystone, Hill City, and Custer. All those little old towns in the Black Hills. And so that was our Sturgis. So in retrospect, what we would have done is go to Sturgis like we did early, that was through good luck more than good management. Do all the rides, and Bobby took us all around the place. We would do a day or two at Sturgis max, and we'd get out of there. But for this trip, I also had some appearances and some commitments that I had to do with some shows and rides. So it was what it was. But that, if we did it again,
we would have cut it a lot shorter.
We would have cut it a lot shorter. So from here, we're making our way, because we've got to get to Toronto and another part of Canada. So we're making our way across Iowa, Wisconsin, Minneapolis and everything. And we stayed at Chamberlain. And you've seen all these videos, which was beautiful. It had the big Statue of Dignity there. And Spirit Lake around here somewhere, where Spirit Lake is the factory of the Indian, where it was born. So naturally we had to go there. And then we made our way out to Minneapolis, around St. Paul area, and Stillwater, which we love Stillwater. That was great. And we also then, through good coincidence, the Indian Bike Week, that's the day it started when we arrived. So we managed to say hello to a few people and met them for lunch and stuff like that at Stillwater. That was good. And then we got Wisconsin. That was all great up there. And we make our way through Ironwood, which, if you've seen the video, we christened Ironweed because of the huge amount of marijuana we could smell. And we're making our way to Toronto via Parry Sound and Lake Erie. We were going to cross the lake here at Milwaukee, but the boat we were going on, which was an old steamboat, was decommissioned, and we didn't want
further up. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want to go down to the other boat. Plus, it was super expensive. It was like $500 each of us.
Yep.
So we decided to use that time, and we went up around the south of Lake Superior. We stayed at Sault Ste. Marie, which was the dodgiest accommodation we had, practically, we thought, the whole trip. And way through here into Ontario, and then down this way into Toronto, the most mental traffic ever. And a big shout out to Damien's family, the Mark Antonios, etc., etc., etc. And we spent 4 fabulous days with Damien's family in Toronto. We leave Toronto and we make our way back across the border into New York State, into the Buffalo area where we stayed with Damien's work colleague Jim and Yuri?
Yeah,
We stayed there at their beautiful house, and it was a great area. Loved that. Then we make our way down to Pennsylvania, where we stayed again with a good ex-work colleague of Damien's, Dean and Kathy.
Both works, yep.
And we stayed at the lake house, which was absolutely magnificent. And again, the tank toppers have seen all these places, so you'll know what I'm talking about. So then we make our way down to West Virginia, Roanoke, where we stayed with Vicky, who we met at Indian Bike Week. Vicky put us up just outside of Roanoke on a beautiful property there. And we make our way down to North Carolina and South Carolina into Tennessee. And that's the area where we did Tail of the Dragon, the Smoky Mountains. I did an appearance at the Indian store there, thanks to Denise. And it was lovely to catch up with Cindy and Judith, who rode with us through the Tail of the Dragon. So we did the signature rides, which was fabulous. To Nashville here in Tennessee, which was terrific. That's where we met Gary and Wild Bill.
Wild Bill.
Yeah, they took us out for dinner, which was fabulous. Doug.
And
they took us for a great ride as we made our way to Memphis. And then from Memphis, this is what we added. We decided to do the Ozarks, which was around here. So we flipped the coin and decided to do the Ozarks, which was fabulous. We did all the Ozarks, the pigtails and the whole thing. So we crossed into Arkansas. We did a little bit of Oklahoma. We're coming into Kansas because we're making our way back over here with the things that we had to drop in July because it's a bit cooler now. So we've got to make our way and squeeze in a whole bunch of things. We're in the last month now, September. We ride through Kansas with this Wichita, Dodge City, a little bit into Nebraska, and we end up in Colorado Springs. That was a huge long day. We rode for like 5 more hours into Colorado Springs. And then it was getting late, but we needed to do Pikes Peak, so we added another 3 hours to the day. We got there 15 minutes before the national park closed. They let us through, and we did Pikes Peak. That was an epic ride. So this is all Colorado. From Colorado Springs to Silt on the way to do the $1 Million Highway. Now, this was what I've just put. This is the worst day of my life. After we left, there was all these roadblocks, traffic accidents. We rode like 3 hours to avoid these road closures. We went around mountains and everything, but somehow we found ourselves at the road closure. So between here and Silt, we had that really bad 8 miles of chalky, talcum powder, big rock off-road riding. And it was the worst experience of my life, and I cried. We were going up a mountain on these conditions, and there was switchbacks to take on a hill, and it was horrifying. But anyway, I did it. I didn't drop the bike, but I really thought I was going to. So that was awful. But the rewards were here because then we get into further into Colorado where we do the $1 Million Highway, which is spectacular, which sort of started at Ouray, which is a fabulous place, lots of gravel streets. I didn't like the parking there, but beautiful town. Silverton, which is cute, and then we ended up in Durango. We did all that in Colorado, and then we're making our way into Utah, into the Monument Valley, Mexican Hat. Did all that. That was spectacular. We stayed at a really shit place outside of Monument Valley. Wild dogs chased it. Well, they didn't chase us, but there was nothing open. We found a pizza place, and we were followed by all these wild dogs that could smell it. So that was pretty scary. But we did all that. Then we went to the Grand Canyon, Nevada, the Grand Canyon shared by a number of states, into Arizona where we went to stayed at Flagstaff and Sedona, beautiful areas there. Then we left there and we did Williams, Seligman, it's after the Grand Canyon, as we make our way to Las Vegas. And then we spent 4 days in Vegas, some downtime. We also did Red Rock Canyon and had a look around there, which was spectacular around Nevada here. Then we leave Vegas and make our way to Tonopah and Goldfield, which was a really interesting place. Then over to the other Virginia city, which is fabulous. And we stayed at Carson City, which is only half an hour out of Virginia City. And thanks to Angela and Eric for looking after us there. Battleborn IMRG chapter. So Jeff and Red and all the guys there that took us out for dinner. That was fabulous. We did Lake Tahoe and into Yosemite National Park. Then after Yosemite, we make our way to Hollister, because of the Indian dealership there. Hollister,
big shout out to them.
They totally organised the issue. Damien kept having an engine warning light on, that after every service, the Lloyd's and everything, we thought it was fixed. We kept thinking it was bad fuel or blah, blah, blah. But anyway, Indian at Hollister, Ray and his team
were fantastic.
Knew what it was straight away, fixed a dodgy spark plug, and Damien's bike was a different bike after that. So sadly, he did all of this on one cylinder, we think. Because from Hollister, the bike it was already powering along, but it was powering along a lot more after that. We make our way over to below San Francisco into Monterey, and then we did a little bit of the Big Sur that we could. It's closed halfway. Then we came back, then came into Santa Barbara, which we love Santa Barbara, and then we hightailed it all the way down to San Diego, where I had an appearance. Hello, all the guys at San Diego Indian. And then spent the night there, and then we made our way back to LA area, where we stayed at Manhattan Beach for a couple of nights before we put the bikes on we took the bikes to the shipping company, and sometime in the next 2 weeks they'll be on a container, and they say that we will see them in the first week of November. So let's talk about the shipping. So when we shipped the bikes over, we shared a container with Steve Melquire and his trailer. So we had 3 bikes and a trailer on there. Yep. Steve does trailers, and he took his trailer over and actually sold it. Steve has done this many, many times before. The total return for shipping and the things that is included in shipping is you've got marine insurance, which is this is per person or per bike. Marine insurance was about $380 per bike. The bike insurance for the 3 months we were in America came to about $800 per bike. We had to pay up front nearly $3,000, but we got a chunk back because we only used 3 months of the 12 months. You have your personal medical insurance, which you would do for any overseas travel. That was about $800, $900 each. The shipping for the 4 bikes, 1 container, was about $10K. So that's $2,500 each. Seattle was about $1,500 each once we paid it up. There's Canada visas, which were about $100, but I was ripped off of that. It should only be $6. The American Extra about $40. So all up, that came to about 11,000. Divided that by 4. Okay, and then coming back is about 3.5 each. So we figure the shipping per person is $10,000 return all up each. Now that's about $6,500 US.
Now compare that to hiring a motorcycle.
Well, if we were to hire a motorbike at anywhere between $250 and $500 a day, depending on the time of year and the events, we would have been $20,000 plus. So it's about half the cost of hiring a bike in America for that length of time. So it's worth it. The only downside is that we're without the bikes for 6 weeks. Going over was okay because it was winter and we didn't miss a lot of riding. Coming back though, we're already frustrated because there's rides being organised and we haven't got bikes. So
it's 12
that's
weeks
the
in
downside.
total.
But it's a once in a lifetime and we had our own bikes for the whole trip, so it was worth it. So all up those costs. So going over, we did a lot of the work ourselves and there was a lot of paperwork. And as you can see from a previous episode, we were drowning in paperwork, but we got through it. Coming back, we chose to use Bikes Abroad to ship our bikes back, and they look after absolutely everything, and they'll deal with customs and bring the bikes to a place in Melbourne. So it's and that came to about $3,500 plus marine insurance. So let's say just shy of $4,000 Australian dollars to bring the bikes back. And it was probably very similar to take them over, but we put in a lot of work, or Steve put in a lot of work. So thank God for Steve. If we didn't have Steve doing it, we probably just would have gone with a company like Bikes Abroad there and back. Okay, now for some. So that's where we went to America. I think we counted 25 states. We have done 25 states all up. We would love to come back and do all these southern states. For instance, Florida, Georgia, New Orleans, Texas, New Mexico, and also Oregon. Sadly, we missed that one, but the big red trees of the big redwoods would have been great to see, but we can't fit it all in. So we've missed a few, and a holiday in Hawaii would be good, and there's Alaska and the whole thing up there. And there's also these states along here as well. So let's recap on costs now. That's all our thing. So accommodation, we've done a calculation, and this is per person. We have spent, and I've just rounded the figures up a little bit. It might have been like $50 less, but $10,000 per person in accommodation for the 3 months. And don't forget, we were also shouted accommodation. We stayed with people who looked after us, so it would have been more had we had to pay.
So that's $20,000 combined?
Combined.
So if one person was going over, it still cost $20,000.
Correct. It would have been $20,000 if you want, but it was $20,000, so we shared $10,000 each, which is about $6.5 each US for accommodation. So around $13,000 US for the accommodation, which we shared. Now petrol came to Australian $2,000 each.
Yes.
Which is about $1,400 US for the petrol. And just to let you know, we filled up, we estimate that we filled the tanks 60 times, and we averaged 250 miles per tank.
Per tank of fuel. So we got about 250 miles out of a tank.
A tank of fuel.
Taking in consideration that yours used a bit more than mine, so we just average it out to about 250.
Yeah, that's about average. So 60 tanks of fuel. Food was extraordinarily expensive.
Surprisingly expensive.
We couldn't believe it. So we think we've averaged it out. Estimate we've spent each $7,000 Australian on food, which is about $4,000 American. Damien would have spent more because he probably spent $20,000 on coffees. Just joking, but he would have spent more than me, and he drank beer, for instance, and he's got the Blue Moon Baby to prove it. And sometimes I didn't drink anything, so Damien would have spent a bit more. So let's average about, for 3 months, $7,000 Australian in food, about $4,000 American.
Now, can I add to that is that we weren't eating over. We were actually sometimes having one meal a day.
We averaged really one meal a day. We don't eat breakfast. Damien gets a coffee in there. If I can find a chocolate or a chocolate something, I'll grab it, but in most cases, no. We might have had a snack along the way. It was one main meal a day in most cases. We would go out and it was either the lunch was the main meal or the dinner. As far as incidentals go, cabs, the monorail, souvenirs and stuff, well, you just got to work out what sort of money you spend on that. Didn't do a lot of shopping, for instance. I bought stuff for the grandkids, and I had some extra expenses with the cost of a platform to send the newsletters out and stuff like that. But all up, the cost of this trip came to
30-something thousand?
About 30,000 Australian dollars for the whole 3 months, plus incidentals. So that 30,000 is accommodation, petrol, food, plus. So I reckon $35,000 should get you 3 months in America with accommodation, petrol, food, and some incidentals. But depending on how much you eat, how much you drink, how much you party, concerts, things like that, it could be $40,000. So any questions, put them in the comments below, and I will answer every question that comes up. Please subscribe to the channel because we've got some great adventures coming up in Australia, which is, by the way, from here on in, it's just all free. And thanks again to the Tank Toppers who helped make this whole trip quite amazing. So 25 states, and of course then we've got British Columbia and Ontario in Canada. And we'd like to think we'd go back and do the other states. But we won't ship the bikes again. I don't think we'd do that exercise again. Part of that reason is I don't think we can get 3 months off work again. If we go back, we'll go back for, say, 2 or 3 weeks and hire a bike and just do sort of areas. We want to do Europe next, though, don't we, on BMWs. So thanks to everybody that helped us out. Everyone we met was amazing. The hospitality and the people were fantastic. Damien?
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for all your support.
All his coffees.
All my coffees.
Yeah.
And also thank you to all the support that we got whilst we were in America, all the people we've met, and all the good messages and best wishes we got
And
from
great
Australia.
advice and local intel.
Yeah, from Australia and from America,
Yeah.
people who've done the trip. So, yeah, again, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was great.
And we managed to fit in a few extra places we didn't plan, and we skipped a couple, but overall, we did really well.
Yep.
We accomplished a lot, and it was wonderful. So that is all. So
I hope you enjoyed the trip with us, actually, because it felt like many times you
and
were with
hasn't
us.
it gone quick? Oh my God, it's gone so quick. And we're back to work now, back saving for the next
Can
adventure.
you tell? I'm not wearing an Indian t-shirt.
No, he's not. He's got his business gear on, and his Blue Moon baby still fits in there. Although tell the people about your belt.
No, we don't talk about that.
Come on, he's gone down 2 belts. He's gone up 2 belt sizes.
6 kilos,
He put on 6 kilos. I put on a 1.2.
1.2, and I put on 6. That's Blue Moons.
That's the beer, baby. Okay, bye everybody.
See ya.
See
Thank
ya.
you.
Around.
Hitting the road again, 2 wheels and a dream.